most important character traits for success, yet never is mentioned as often as it should be, at least in my opinion, is accountability. You see, whenever I meet successful people, almost every time they're accountable. Doesn't matter what field they work in or where they are in life. If someone's successful, they're usually accountable for their actions. They don't blame other people for their shortcomings. If they make mistakes, which we all do at times, if they fall short, they look to themselves and they hold themselves accountable. How can they get better? How can they improve? What did they do that led to the outcome that they got that they didn't want? We see this often in sports. Many times a close game will come down to the wire and a poor call from a referee or official will award the game to the other team. Yet, when the athletes come to the podium and coaches after the game at the press conference, they rarely ever will discuss that call. They'll talk about other areas in the game earlier, prior to the call, that they didn't do a good job of executing or made some mental mistakes. They hold themselves accountable. I have a very clear example of this over my working career with two different employees over 20 years apart. In the mid-1990s, I had an 18-year-old kid who was a great kid. I really liked him, a hard worker, but he had some issues in being responsible with his schedule and some other aspects to the job. And this was in a small health club in Oklahoma. He'd been verbally reprimanded, had a written reprimand, and finally I had to call him in and let him know, you got to go. Not easy. It's never easy, if anyone who's ever been on that end, and I've been on both sides, having to terminate people and also being fired a time or two many years ago in my young career when I first got started. It's not an easy thing to do. He asked me, can you get me a job somewhere else? Of course, he started asking me, can I bring him back? And I couldn't do that. So I told him, I tell you what, if you're serious about making a career in this industry, and he told me he really was, I'll make a call to a friend halfway across the country who oversees a bunch of health clubs, and I can get you a job. He said, okay, and he took me up on it. He moved halfway across the country. He moved from Oklahoma to Charlotte, North Carolina to work for my friend. Now, he was 18 at the time. He didn't have a family. He was single, so certainly wasn't as much to risk and lose at that time in his life. But that told me a lot about him. He showed me he was serious and he was accountable. He admitted he had done wrong, told me, you were right in doing what you did, Rob, I understand. Now fast forward 20 some years and I had another individual, same scenario but a completely different result. Now this person was already in their mid-40s, so more than twice the age of the young 18-year-old. Same scenario played itself out. Verbal reprimands many times, finally a written reprimand, and finally I had to call this person into my office and terminate their position with my company. This person was anything but accountable. They assessed blame on me, never apologized, never admitted any fault of their own, and that's the way it ended. Now, before I close out, in case you're wondering whatever happened to the 18-year-old in the mid-90s, well, he's over 40 today and he's worth millions of dollars. He owns health clubs all over the country, and more importantly, he's blessed so many people with his finances and his wealth. He's paid off the homes of many family members, and it all comes back to one thing. Yes, he works hard. Yes, he was persistent. Yes, he learned his craft and his trade. But it all started with an 18-year-old kid learning a lesson that the 40-year-old person never learned. He was accountable.